God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Joy is my source, joy is my power, joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. Peace is my source, peace is my power, peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need. Love is my source, love is my power, love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. Everything I need. God gives me everything I need. Everything, everything. God gives me everything. Oh, everything I ever need.
Everything beneath the sun breathes like a harmonium. Pure perfection has begun, shining like a midnight sun. Out of darkness I have come, I see God in everyone. Let me be an instrument, guide guided by an heaven sent. May these grapes of pain ferment, alchemized to love's content, ever be a sacrament, knowing God is my intent. God, let me know your name, hold me in the same breath as your word. God, I feel you all around, oh how you astound me with your grace. Rolling like a thundercloud, let me live my love out loud, standing for mankind and proud, baptized in a holy shroud. Peace be still and know me now, God is in all I have found. God, let me know your name, hold me in the same breath as your word.
Good morning, Mile High. Okay, now this song is interactive, and I'm going to ask you to do a few things, but it's going to make you feel real good. And the person next to you is going to make them feel even better. All right? Here we go. Take a look at the person next to you. Say, I recognize the God in you. Now feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together, in the name of love. We come together, we come together, we come together, in the name of love. Take a look at the person next to you. God loves you and I love you too. Now feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. 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 In the name of love. Every walk of life, every creed and color, it can unite. In honor of the God in each other. Oh, take a look at the person next to you. Say, namaste, I bow to you. Now feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together in the name of love. Oh, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. We come together. In the name of love.
spoken, only one prayer ever heard, only one heart ever broken. It would be enough to speak these words. Thank you, thank you. Power in a grateful heart, turning every fear into a work of art. If there's only one life that we're living, only one breath and one voice, only one reason for living, it would be enough to make this choice. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything. Thank you, yeah, thank you for everything. Thank you for everything. Thank you for everything. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
A time in my life, thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know that the grace of God was sufficient, and I didn't know the love of God was at hand.
Well, good morning and happy Independence Day weekend to you. I hope you all had more sleep than I did because I'm always seem to be sleep deprived on July the 5th because the people in my neighborhood don't seem to know how to respect an 11 o'clock noise curfew or 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. Lori told me that they were shooting them off at 6 o'clock in the morning this morning in her neighborhood. I can see her on the Skype window over here. She's over at the center preparing to be our practitioner today. We also have Dave and Mandy doing live music for us today. So I apologize in advance if I'm a little bit logy because did not get good sleep last night. Let's go ahead and put on some Donna Michael piano music in the background here. There we go. All right, and I invite everyone, and I'm going to turn off those sound effects that make the little popping noises when I change my volume in here. I invite everyone to simply take a breath. Right where we are, wherever we are, let's just take a breath. Centering ourselves in the knowing that there is one life, and that life is God. And that life is divine. And that life is perfect. And that life is my life now, in this moment and always, and the life of each of us in this spiritual community, each of us gathering for this LoveStream service this morning. Each of us who may watch this YouTube broadcast at a later time. Dr. Holmes teaches that there is no time or place in spirit and there is no time or place in treatment. So I invite us all to connect mentally and spiritually at this moment within our understanding of the one mind. I declare that there is God and absolutely nothing else, and that I believe in God and absolutely nothing else. And regardless of what I may see with my human eyes, or regardless of what I may perceive in my human ego, my human opinion, there is only God. There is only God, and we all exist within it and as it and through it, and it expresses itself through us and as us and supports us and guides us, and its intuition informs us. There is always that within us which we can turn to, and I declare that we turn to that divine life now. I bless our day, I bless our time together, I bless our spiritual community, and I know that all is well. And in this knowing, I simply release my word gratefully into the action of that loving law, allowing it to do its work lovingly, impersonally, mechanically, accurately, and I release it and let it be and let it go. And as I do, together we affirm this blessing by saying, and so it is. And so it is. Yes. So, good morning and welcome to our LoveStream service. I'm going to invite us all now into that place of forgiveness and reconciliation. We talk about the Ho'oponopono prayer, that place of reconciliation. And I remind you that nobody alive today is responsible for the creation of the system that we have in our country today. No one. I've been watching. Monica says, and so it is. Good morning, beautiful souls. Reverend Doug, thank you for leading us during these crazy times. You are welcome. I've been watching the John Adams HBO miniseries over this weekend to remind myself of the founding of our country, and also, of course, I watched Hamilton on Friday night on Disney Plus, and I had never had the opportunity to see Hamilton before. And of course, thank you. I'm so appreciative to Disney for releasing that now. They were going to release it as a movie in a year, but to release it now so that we can all enjoy it this weekend, and to be able to participate in, Lynn's vision of, his telling of the story of the founding of our country. Just magnificent. So I want to take us into a couple of minutes of Ho'oponopono meditation, where we declare for ourselves and others, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And remember, this is not a personal apology or reconciliation. This is a communal and societal, municipal reconciliation meditation. You don't have to believe that you're part of the problem to believe and know that you can be part of the solution to what's going on in our country right now. So let's go into that. Let me put on the Ho'oponopono music here. There it is. And let's take just a couple of minutes as we breathe and center ourselves and just listen to Karen Drucker's beautiful voice.
I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you,
Mahalo,
I love you.
aloha,
I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you,
Mahalo,
I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, so sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I love you.
I just love the way that makes me feel. It makes me feel like I'm doing something good. Let's go right to our promises this morning, Dr. Holmes's promises, and let's say together, I keep the promise that I have made myself to affirm in this moment that I am abundant, healthy, strong, and happy. I keep the intention to daily speak this truth to my inner soul, telling it that it is wonderful and marvelous, that it is one with the great cause of life, truth, power, and action. I whisper these things into my soul until it breaks forth into songs of joy with the realization of its limitless possibilities. I assure my soul. I assure my soul. And so let's go ahead and assure our souls this morning by singing I Remember Who I Am. I should have had my capo on already this morning, but then again, I'm fuzzy because I didn't get any sleep because people were shooting off fireworks all night. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. His pure spirit. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. His pure spirit. We are life. We are life. We are light. We are love. We are joy. We We are peace, we are wisdom, and beautiful harmony. We are pure spirit. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are is pure spirit. Yes, who we are is pure spirit. Oh, who we are is pure spirit. Yes, who we are is pure spirit. Let's go to our community affirmation. I'm not going to ask you to stand, but if you want to, while you're at home, you can stand. But let's do our community affirmation together. I believe in one power, one living spirit, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. I believe that spirit expresses through me and is the unity of all life. Oops, what's going on here? Let's go on to another one. There we go. I believe that the kingdom of heaven is within, and that we experience this kingdom to the degree that we become conscious of it. I believe that all thought is creative, and that how I choose to think creates my personal experience. I believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. Okay, so Dave and Mandy, it's time for you to unmute yourselves. Are you there?
Hello.
Hello, you're there.
We're
Yay.
here.
So, good morning. How are you?
We're great.
Wonderful.
Happy 4th of July weekend.
Happy 4th of July weekend. I'm going to
I
go.
had no idea that you lived there. I would never have been setting those off that late.
So that was you, huh?
Well,
How come
no,
I can see
actually-
you, Dave, but I can't see Mandy? She's all fuzzy.
Oh,
Why don't
Oh,
you?
really?
Yeah, you're all fuzzy.
is that better?
No, you're all fuzzy. I can see Dave, but luckily I can hear you. You're all
that's
fuzzy.
weird.
That's weird. How about
Maybe
if I
Yeah, if you stand there, then you're
Is
cool.
it? I'll get
Yeah.
a little bit closer then.
Okay. Well, anyway, you got a couple of great songs for us today, I know, and the first one's an old fun one, so let's go for it. Have at it.
All right. Mother, mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, 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 far too many of you dying. No, we got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Father, Father, we don't need to risk today. War's not the answer. No, it can comprehend. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Oh, forget lights, forget signs, punish me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see. Oh, what's going on?
What's going
Yeah, what's going on?
What's going
Hey, what's going on?
What's going
Oh, what's going on?
What's going
things we're wrong. Who are they to judge us simply because our hair is long? Oh God, we've got to find a way to find some understanding in today. Yeah. Picking lights, picking sides, punish me with brutality. Talk to me so we can see what's going on. Yeah, what's going on? Ooh, what's going on? Yeah, what's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. Yeah, what's going on? Hey, 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 what's going on? Tell me what's going on. Tell me what's going on. Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on?
Thank you, guys. I mean, it's like not only do you always bring great songs, but you always bring a really, really super great interpretation for us, and I really appreciate that. By the way, Dawn Simmons, who's our board member, said, "What a perfect song. Love Marvin." And she also said, "Thanked you personally," you know. And Bob Lean said, "Awesome. Thank you, Dave and Mandy." And I think you may have inadvertently ticked a blur my background thing on your Skype. So before your next performance, maybe we could untick that so we can see you guys clearly, because
Okay.
we love
Well, at
you.
least we'll move it over to me. So
Okay. So, all right, I'm gonna put you guys in the background now. So go ahead and mute yourselves.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go to reminding everybody that the High Desert Center for Spiritual Living is part of Centers for Spiritual Living, which is an open and affirming community, and we are a radically inclusive community. I'm going to turn down the speakers here from Skype. We're a radically inclusive community, and our new mission statement pertaining to inclusivity is that the High Desert Center for Spiritual Living is a radically inclusive and mindfully non-racist spiritual community. All are lovingly welcomed here. And I just want you to know, I've been in touch with my favorite anthropologist, Prince E.A., and I've invited him to come and speak with us at some point. I don't know if we can afford him or you know what his schedule is like. It could take a year before he's available. I don't know. But he's my favorite spoken word anthropologist, and he's got a new movie for us this week. And, well, just take a look at this.
I am not black. I mean, that's what the world calls me, but it's not me. I didn't come out of my mother's womb saying, "Hey, everybody, I'm black." No, I was taught to be black, and you were taught to call me that, along with whatever you call yourself. It's just a label. See, from birth, the world force feeds us these labels, and eventually we all swallow them. We digest and accept the labels, never ever doubting them. But there's one problem. Labels are not you, and labels are not me. Labels are just labels. But who we truly are is not skin deep. See, when I drive my car, no one would ever confuse the car for me. Well, when I drive my body, why do you confuse me for my body? It's my body. Get it? Not me. Let me break it down. See, our bodies are just cars that we operate and drive around. The dealership we call society decided to label mine the black edition, yours the Irish or white edition. And with no money down, 0% APR, and no test drive, we were forced to own these cars for the rest of our lives. Forgive me, but I fail to see the logic or pride in defining myself or judging another by the cars we drive. Because who we truly are is found inside. Listen, I'm not here to tell you how science has concluded that genetically we're all mixed and race in the human species doesn't exist, or how every historian knows that race was invented in the 15th century to divide people from each other and it has worked perfectly. No, I'm not here to lecture. I just want to ask one question. Who would you be if the world never gave you a label? Never gave you a box to check? Would you be white, black, Mexican, Asian, Native American, Middle Eastern, Indian? No. We would be one. We would be together. No longer living in the era of calling human beings black people or white people. These labels that will forever blind us from seeing a person for who they are, but instead seeing them through the judgmental, prejudicial, artificial filters of who we think they are. And when you let an artificial label define yourself, then my friend, you have chosen smallness over greatness and minimized yourself, confined and divided yourself from others. And it is an undeniable fact that where there is division, there will be conflict, and conflict starts wars. Therefore, every war has started over labels. It's always us versus them. So the answer to war, racism, sexism, and every other ism is so simple that every politician has missed it. It's the labels. We must rip them off. Isn't it funny how no baby is born racist, yet every baby cries when they hear the cries of another? No matter the gender, culture, or color, proving that deep down we were meant to connect and care for each other. That is our mission, and that is not my opinion. That is the truth in a world that has sold us fiction. Please listen, labels only distort our vision, which is why half of those watching this will dismiss it or feel resistance and conflicted. But just remember, so did the caterpillar before it broke through its shell and became the magnificent butterfly. Well, these labels are our shells, and we must do the same thing so we can finally spread our wings. Human beings were not meant to be slapped with labels like groceries and supermarkets. DNA cannot be regulated by the FDA. We were meant to be free, and only until we remove them all and stop living and thinking so small will we be free to see ourselves and each other for who we truly are.
Wow. I love him. I just cry. I love him. He's so smart. He's so smart. So this week I started taking my book study class. Me and White Supremacy, the book Lila F. Saad, Combat Racism, Change the World, and Become a Good Ancestor. The practitioners, so the ministers are taking it now. The practitioners begin taking it in a couple of weeks. And then the member book study is going to be Tuesday evenings, 5 p.m. Pacific, beginning August 4th and ending September 1st. It's free. As we get closer, I will send out the registration links so that you all can have the opportunity to register for this book study. It's a fantastic. We meet, we talk, and then we blog or journal during the week through the work in this wonderful book study. And Charles sent me something this week. You know, we have a member, Jane Works. And she's quite an active member and contributor. And whenever she sends in her contributions, she sends in a poem with it. And this week she sent in a poem. The country roads of life, containing bumps, ruts, and potholes, will in time eventually widen out into a beautiful highway of smooth and trouble-free traveling. It's just ahead, out there awaiting our arrival. Jane Works. Thank you, Jane. Thank you for your contributions to our center, and I'm not just talking about your financial contributions. Thank you for contributing your creativity and your heart and your love to what we do. And Laurie, you can unmute yourself. Are you unmuted? You are. Okay, well, Good morning, Lori. How
Good
are
morning.
you?
I'm terrific.
Good, there you are. Now I can hear you. So you're at the
Okay.
center. Who's at the center with you this morning?
Frank is here and Marina is here.
Frank and Marina are there. Well, thank you for making the treacherous journey across town. I'm sure that there were, leftover firework casings everywhere. So you have our affirmation and our flames of faith this morning. So take it away, Lori.
All right. So I'll read the affirmation and then you can join in with me. I live in divine freedom today and every day. Join me. I live in divine freedom today and every day. One more time. I live in divine freedom today and every day. So now it's time for the flames of faith. We performed this ceremony on Sunday to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. The unity candle represents the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. We light the first candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the second candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the third candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of compliance with the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle, honoring all forms of new thought, the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principle. We light the 10th candle for inclusivity, affirming that all are welcome here. And as we light the healing candle, please put silently into the light names of loved ones, knowing that they have the experience of spirit's eternal love. And so I invite you now to breathe into this moment as we move within. And if you can, close your eyes, if you can do that safely. Let us just move into this space of wonder, this space of imagination, of pure spirit. There is only this one life. And I speak this word now in the first person so that you may embody these words. I am one with all life. I am one with this infinite in spirit, this infinite intelligence, this one that is forever and ever expressing itself as me. I live in divine freedom today and every day. And I choose. When I choose freedom, I choose. I have this ability to make choices for love. I choose love in this moment. I choose wonder. I choose limitless possibilities. I choose infinite joy. And I choose divine peace now. And in this choosing, I let go of the appearances that seem to be surrounding me now. I release them and I open my awareness to all my possibilities. And with this, I give thanks, great thanks for this center, for all that make this service possible, and for Reverend Doug and his message today. Let us be lifted up. Let us live in joy and blessings. And so I just release this word. I let it go. And I release all doubt and fear, knowing that there is this one power within that loves me so. And together we say, and so it is.
Thank you, Lori. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Perfect for the moment. I appreciate it. Thank you. So let's see. Let's go back over. You can mute yourself now, Lori, and let's go back over to Dave and Mandy. And
What happened?
What is that?
What?
What?
Is it still?
Those your 4th of July glasses?
Oh, my glasses. Well, these, are my 4th. Yeah, I got new glasses.
Okay.
They have guitars on them.
Very cute. Very cute.
Can you see that? I thought it was fitting for this next
I
song.
gotcha. Okay. Well, to sing a new favorite of mine, back to you, Dave and Mandy. Here we go.
Okay.
I can afford his gas.
guys. Soak Up the Sun. Thank you for introducing me to that cool. I've been, ever since you suggested that song, and I had to say, I don't know that song, and I like Sheryl Crow. I've been listening to it like around the house.
That's a good one.
Long. It's a great song. So
yeah. Well, thanks for having us, Doug. We appreciate it.
We love you guys, and thank
We
you.
love you guys. We can't wait to see everybody again soon.
Can't wait to see you in person too. But
Right.
be safe. Stay safe. Know that we love you. And
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Okay.
So that is such a cool song, "Soak Up the Sun," and I you know, they choose really good songs, but there's something in almost every song that says volume. Are you telling me that my volume is still low? Please turn up your mic. Holy crap. Okay, your sound is still very low. How about that? Let me go into my loop back here and see if I can figure out why my sound... Hold on. How's that? Is that better? That's better. Okay, I'm sure I'm getting... Yes, Charles says yes, that's better. Okay, good. All right. So many buttons, so little time, and, you know, sleep deprivation. I made a cup of coffee this morning, and it wasn't even my first cup. It was like my third cup, and I forgot to put the cup underneath the coffee, you know, the Keurig coffee maker. So anyway, all right. So let's go to this song. You know, Sheryl Crow. I love. She says it's not having what you want; it's wanting what you've got. It's not having what you want; it's wanting what you've got. I'm gonna soak up the sun. I'm gonna tell everyone to lighten up. I'm going to tell them that I've got no one to blame for every time I feel lame. I'm looking up. I'm going to soak up the sun. Charles said, your new slogan, so many buttons, so little time. Man, it's true. Sitting here in the studio and doing all this rather than coming to do service with you guys, it takes like about 10 times more work to do this. And on a morning when I'm sleep deprived, even when I'm on a morning when I'm sleep deprived, I'll bet you guys don't notice it when I'm on the pulpit. But from this morning, it's juggling all these things. So many buttons, so little time. So I'm going to say these lyrics one more time. It's not having what you want. It's wanting what you've got. See, because it's about changing our thinking, right? It's about changing our orientation to what is. It's a declaration. I'm going to soak up the sun. I'm going to tell everyone to lighten up. I'm going to tell them that I've got no one to blame for every time I feel lame. I'm looking up. I'm going to soak up the sun. I love this song. Charles says, I need an AV engineer. Yes, I do, but don't have enough room in here for social distancing. So it's July, and it's the first week of July, and it's also Independence Day weekend. So, of course, we're celebrating the 244th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Here are some things about Independence Day that I'll bet that you did not know.
Every summer, Americans celebrate the anniversary of our nation's birth on July 4th, 1776. That's when the Continental Congress approved the Declaration of Independence, the revolutionary document in which the 13 American colonies announced they were free from British rule. But bet you didn't know, some people think we should actually celebrate on July 2nd, not the 4th. That was the day the delegates actually voted on the Declaration. They just didn't have the written document completed and printed until the 4th. Ready for some more 4th of July facts? Well, for starters, Philadelphia's famous Liberty Bell was not rung on July 4th, 1776. Its big moment came 4 days later, on July 8th, to honor the first public reading of the Declaration. No fewer than 3 presidents, all of them among the nation's founding fathers, died on Independence Day. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died hours apart from each other on July 4th, 1826, 50 years after the nation declared its independence from Britain. James Monroe also died on July 4th, in 1831. From the beginning, Americans marked the birth of independence with parades, speeches, music, and public readings of the Declaration. Artillery salutes, a key feature of the earliest Independence Day celebrations, went out of fashion as cannons fell out of use by the late 19th century. But there's one early tradition that hasn't gone out of style: fireworks. Congress first authorized pyrotechnics as part of 4th of July celebrations way back in 1777. Today, more than 14,000 fireworks displays go off across the nation every July 4th. The largest of these is the Macy's 4th of July Spectacular in New York City. Some 75,000 pounds of fireworks go off during the roughly half-hour show, which is attended by 2 million people. And since 1941, most Americans have gotten to enjoy a little relaxation with their fireworks. Congress made Independence Day a federal legal holiday that year. And we bet you didn't know, it's one of only 4 federal holidays, along with New Year's Day, Veterans Day, and Christmas, that are celebrated on the same calendar date each year.
You know, all 14,000 of those fireworks shows were going off in my neighborhood last night. I know that all of our 4th of July Independence Day weekend celebrations look a little bit different this year, but on this 244th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence, I want to put a science of mind metaphysical slant on this holiday, and I want to invite all of us to think about our freedom on every level: our spiritual freedom, our emotional freedom, our physical freedom, our mental freedom. You know, the science of mind teaching is very clear that the birthright of every one of us is freedom, and that what any of us enjoys must be available to every one of us, regardless of our race, sexual orientation, culture, gender identification, age, any of the ways that make us magnificently different from each other. Charles said Apple Valley had more than its share of fireworks last night, and Elizabeth Partaker said it sounded like a war zone there. Well, I hope you guys got some sleep. You know, but even though this freedom is every person's birthright, I know that we may experience blockages: social, economic, cultural, political, religious, even personal blocks based on our own thinking that create challenges for us to experiencing the freedom that is our birthright. And so for any of us who are able to experience freedom in any area of our life, I invite us to consciously do our best to share it. Do our best to share that freedom. And that means doing our best to ensure that others also experience the freedom that we experience. I mean, I invite you to speak up for that freedom and to also do your conscious best to be a living example of it in the way that you treat people and respect people, regardless of those outward differences of the color of our skin, like all the stuff that Prince EA said. You know, our July global vision is called Spirituality Unchained, meaning let's use our metaphysical tools, our practical spirituality, unfettered from those blockages. Let's, you know, those things that we talked about. And this week, we're going right to the heart of our holiday and what America was supposed to be founded on. And it's week 1 is called Free at Last. And the theme, you know, when Dr. Martin Luther King ended his speech at the mall saying, free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last, he was stating a powerful call to action, because prior to quoting the old Negro spiritual, he was saying, let freedom ring. And, you know, for freedom to ring, freedom must already have the impetus to ring. And we are simply invited to let it be and to align ourselves with that freedom. We didn't create freedom. We didn't create liberty. It's part of our metaphysical nature, and it's part of the nature of the universe. And for us to translate that metaphysical and spiritual freedom into municipal freedom and societal freedom, that takes some aligning on our parts and some spiritual work. Now, on July 5th, 1852, and this speech was one of the things that went by quickly on that History Channel video, but That's 168 years ago today, July 5th, 1852, abolitionist Frederick Douglass gave a speech in Rochester, New York, which is now called What to the Slave is the 4th of July. Now, Mr. Douglass was addressing the Rochester Ladies Anti-Slavery Society, and this speech is perhaps Frederick Douglass's most widely known writing, except for his autobiography, which has, of course, been read by millions of people. While referring to the celebrations of Independence Day the day before, July 4th, 1852, 168 years ago, his speech explored the constitutional and value-based arguments against the continued existence of slavery in the United States. And he spoke this truth at a time when almost 4 million black people were still slaves. And Mr. Douglass emphasized that positive statements about American values, such as liberty and citizenship and freedom, were an offense to the enslaved population of the United States because of their lack of freedom and liberty and citizenship. So he was not only referring to the actual enslavement and captivity of black people, but also to the really horrible exploitation and cruelty and torture that they were subjected to during those years. Now, I want to show you a video of several children reading this speech, and all of these children are direct descendants of Frederick Douglass. And they're reading from his speech, and this was recently produced by NPR Radio. Now remember, these words were written in 1852, 8 years before the beginning of the war between the states to end slavery, and 12 years before the end of that war and the actual emancipation of the slaves in the United States. So sit back and watch this. Take this into your hearts.
Do I look there or look there? Okay. Okay. My name is Alexa Ann Watson, and I am the great-great-great-granddaughter of Frederick
Douglass is my great-great-great-great.
I am the great-great-great-granddaughter of Frederick Douglass.
I am the great-great-great-great-grandchild.
I've been counting on my fingers since I was like 5.
Whenever you're ready, here we go.
This is the 4th of July. It is the birthday of your national independence and of your political freedom.
Fellow citizens, I shall not presume to dwell at length on the associations that cluster about this day. The simple story of it is that 76 years ago, the people of this country were British subjects.
Oppression makes a wise man mad. Your fathers were wise men, and if they did not go mad, they became restive under this treatment.
With brave men, there's always a remedy for oppression.
They succeeded, and today you reap the fruits of their success. The freedom gained is yours, and you, therefore, may properly celebrate this anniversary.
Fellow citizens, pardon me. Allow me to ask, why am I called upon to speak here today? What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence?
Are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us?
I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary.
Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common.
The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me.
The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me.
This 4th of July is yours, not mine.
You may rejoice, I must mourn.
Fellow citizens, above your national tumultuous joy, I hear the mournful wail of millions.
At a time like this, scorching irony, not convincing argument is needed.
Oh, had I the ability and could reach the nation's ear, I would today pour out a fiery stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, withering sarcasm, and stern rebuke.
For it is not light that is needed, but fire.
It is not the gentle shower, but thunder.
We need the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake.
The feeling of the nation must be quickened.
The conscience of the nation must be roused.
The propriety of the nation must be startled.
The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed.
And its crimes against God and man must be proclaimed and denounced.
What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him, more than all other days in the year, the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim.
To him, your celebration is a sham.
Your boasted liberty an unholy license.
Your national greatness, swelling vanity.
Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless.
Your denunciations of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence.
Your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery.
Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings,
with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him
mere bombast,
fraud,
deception,
impiety,
and hypocrisy. There is not a nation on the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour. Allow me to say in conclusion, notwithstanding the dark picture I have this day presented of the state of the nation, I do not despair of this country.
This speech was written almost 170 years ago, but this part of it is still extremely relevant, especially with today's protests.
I think that when people are oppressed, they feel silenced, and if someone feels silenced, they get angry. There are certain tactics that you need to use to get people to really hear your voice, and it's not always going to be just like a very calm discussion.
I think he's mostly talking to the people who are already on his side, but believe that they can still try to talk this out, or that things are still justifiable. I know a lot of people at the time were saying, and people now are still saying, that it's not as bad as it could be.
While the 4th of July probably does not feel the same to me as it does to others, I wouldn't say that it has no meaning, because it is the time when America as a country became free from another country. But I would say that it's not the time in which I gained my freedom.
He had a lot of hope, especially for his age. And I'm getting to the point in my life where I'm only 20 years old, but I'm exhausted. I have these thoughts like, will we ever really get to this point? Or is this really something that we should actually spend our time fighting for?
Somebody once said that pessimism is a tool of white oppression, and I think that's true. I think in many ways we are still slaves to the notion that it will never get better. But I think that there is hope, and I think it's important that we celebrate Black joy and Black life, and we remember that change is possible, change is probable, and that there's hope.
Those kids have an amazing legacy. Utterly fantastic. So what's really interesting, I was watching the John Adams HBO miniseries, and it pointed out a historical accuracy that I was not aware of, and I went and checked, which is right up until the week before the actual vote on the Declaration of Independence, which was on July 2nd of 1776. Right up until days before, there was a lot of political wrangling going on about would all 13 of the colonies approve the Declaration of Independence. New York abstained, Maryland was having a real, Charles says, change is even inevitable. The question is in which direction that change will take us. Yes. Yes. So right up until the actual day before or 2 days before the actual vote, the language in the Declaration of Independence also include the abolishing of slavery. And it was written by Thomas Jefferson, who was a slave owner, but recognized that it needed to be in there. And yet Benjamin Franklin and John Adams convinced him that it would never pass. The southern states would not pass the Declaration of Independence from Great Britain with the abolishment of slavery. Their entire economies were based on that. And they made a conscious decision to put that aside for then, so that they could declare independence from Great Britain. This week, we are celebrating what we know to be freedom for all. Freedom for all. 170 years ago, 244 years ago, it was floated before the Declaration of Independence to abolish slavery. 170 years ago, 168 years ago, Frederick Douglass spoke out so strongly about it. And isn't it astounding to watch his great-great-grandchildren, great-great-great-great-grandchildren, cousins all, reading that text. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, wrote, "The law of life is a law of liberty, but not a law of license. It is exact and exacting, and unless we are willing to comply with its nature and work with it alongside of its inherent being, we shall receive no benefit. Every man must pay the price for that which he receives, and that price is paid in mental and spiritual coin." And what he means by that is that we each of us need to use our freedom of thought and our freedom to co-create our experience and the experience of others on this plane of consciousness responsibly. In the Science of Mind teaching, we recognize that the law of life is the principle of how our universal life works. And the principle of being, we talk about it all the time, is that God is all there is, and that we live in a cause and effect universe where what we think and what we believe contributes to what we experience. We participate in the metaphysical nature of the universe, and as I've quoted many times, Dr. Deepak Chopra coined what I think is my favorite definition of God and the universe when he said, God is the evolutionary impulse of the universe. God is infinite creativity, infinite love, infinite compassion, and infinite caring. And I really feel like we are in a visible vortex of evolution right now. We are seeing how our thoughts are being made manifest as action. God is that evolutionary impulse. We have the power to co-create our experience here on planet Earth with that divine evolutionary impulse. But just because we can think something doesn't always mean that we should think the thing that we think that we should think or that we are thinking. Going back to the Bible, the New Testament, in St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, he stated, while everything is permissible, not everything is beneficial. Everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Meaning, yes, I'm free to think and to speak in any way that I like. However, just because something is possible does not necessarily mean that it's a good choice for building the life of meaning and connection and spiritual worth that I know we want to create. You would not be part of this spiritual community. You would not be in this conversation with me and all of us right now if you were not interested in connection and worth and building a spiritual life using the metaphysical nature and the tools of the universal life that we live to create a better life for us and for everybody else. I mean, I know that, have you ever been just about to say something to someone and right before it comes out of your mouth, you think, maybe not such a good thing to think, maybe not such a good thing to say, but you go ahead anyway and say it, and then you wish that you had listened to your intuitive self by the nature of what you created, by the power of your thought and the power of your word. I love that acronym for think. Is it true Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it true, helpful, inspiring, necessary? Is it kind? Because just because it's possible to say what we want to say, and that translates down into all the ways in which we could communicate, to gossip, to use foul language, to be mean-spirited, put our needs ahead of others, use sarcasm, rudeness. Just because those things are possible doesn't mean that behaving in that way will take us to where we want to go in life. I'm not making a moral judgment about even a judgment in terms of our municipal laws and our civilization with each other. I'm not making a moral judgment about these things, gossip and foul language and being mean-spirited, not being kind, putting your needs ahead of others, being sarcastic or rude. What I am saying is behaving that way may not take you where you want to go in life, may not help you contribute to the world that you want to make as part of your legacy as a spiritual being on planet Earth. So here's a great question to consider this month. What would an irresponsible use of our freedom be? What would that look like? Maybe using our freedom without any regard to its impact on others. Maybe saying things, doing things without any consideration of how that impacts people around us. Forgetting, as Prince E.A. said, that we are one entity, that these are the cars that we drive. This is not me. This is my body interacting with other my bodies as we go around. Maybe using our freedom without considering if others have access to the same freedoms that I have. That might be an irresponsible use of our freedom. Dr. Holmes said, liberty is not license. But what would be a responsible way of using our freedom, and what would that look like? I want to talk about that all this month in terms of Spirituality Unchained. Maybe it means I can commit to noticing what's going on in the world around me and acknowledging what's going on in the world around me and being responsible for the impact and effect of my words and what I'm doing to be part of a solution rather than part of a challenging problem. My deeds, my choices, my thoughts, being responsible for the effect that my thoughts and words and actions are having on others. Have you ever inadvertently hurt somebody and seen the pain in their eyes so deeply and truly felt sorry? Not just saying the words, I'm sorry, but truly felt the weight and responsibility of what you said or what you did. The essence of the Science of Mind teaching is personal responsibility and action. When you know the divine truth of yourself and all of us, that we are all one, all part of the same universal life, and you understand that if this is true, then we all have the same freedom and the same responsibilities to each other, well, then we can make a decision to do our best to be a force for good in the world. My personal mission statement is to be an agent of change for good in every area of my life. I try to live by that, to be an agent of change for good in every area of my life. But freedom is a two-way street. It has to be shared. It has to be shared. We can't all be free until all of us are free. The freedom that you enjoy has to be given to everyone, regardless of race or color or creed or ethnicity, gender identification, sexual orientation. We can only attract what we mentally become and truly believe. That's just the truth. So we have to become free ourselves before we can truly allow freedom to ring. Freedom to ring. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. And at the very end of that, we sing, let freedom ring. Our divinity and our connection to God is shared by everyone in the world. All the hands holding up the world, right? Freedom, success, and prosperity are spiritual attributes that belong to everyone. So ask yourself, what can we do today that would elevate our spiritual journey? And by doing that, also elevate everyone else's spiritual journey too. It starts with our thinking. What can we think today that will allow us to take good actions today and tomorrow? Because remember, and this goes for all of us, God in us as us is us. We live in the co-creative nature and cooperative nature of the universe itself. I have a backronym for us this week, and the backronym is FREEDOM. Freedom. Faith rewards my evolving expansion with divine, opulent manifestations. Faith rewards my evolving expansion with divine, opulent manifestations. The better thoughts I think, the better thoughts of freedom that I think, the more free I will experience and the more free that people around me will experience. Our affirmation again today is, I live in divine freedom today and every day. We have to say this. I live in divine freedom today and every day. Remember, we have to believe it and know it to free ourselves first before we can evolve and expand to receive those divine, opulent manifestations. Right? And this, of course, is part of our 2020 vision. One Life in Focus, in which Dr. Holmes reminds us that our experience here is perfect God, perfect human, and perfect being. So this week I challenge us all to do our best to think thoughts, clear thoughts of love and kindness and freedom, and to do our best to extend the freedoms that we ourselves experience to everyone that we meet. It's always good to be kind. It's always good to speak loving words. So I want to remind you guys that, and look, I know we haven't, talked about since we talked last week about not being able to have a live service, things have just gotten worse. And so right now, I have to tell you that there's no timetable on the table for when we can meet again in person yet. It's bad out there. Dawn sent me, Dawn works at City Hall. She sent me a text earlier this week, said, it's bad. BBBAAADDDDDD. It's bad out there. Both San Bernardino counties and LA counties and 17 other counties are going through a really tough time with the coronavirus right now. I pray for all of us to simply accept the scientific facts that we need to protect each other by wearing masks. We need to socially distance. Don't go out unless you have to go out. And if you do have to go out, take the proper precautions. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Wear face coverings. To protect other people. If you don't think you're protecting yourself, that's okay, but protect other people. This is also making a situation, even though we're getting ready to vote on a balanced budget coming up in a couple of weeks. If contributions continue to be low, we'll have trouble balancing our budget anyway. So I want to remind you that you can give through the Give Plus mobile app. Of course, you can go to our website at any time, scroll down the bottom of the website to the donate button, click on that donate button, make a donation. And of course, you can send in a check or drop off a check at the High Desert Center for Spiritual Living, 18575 Corwin Road, Apple Valley. I've made it an automatic debit. And so let's go ahead and say our affirmative giving statement together. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, prosper, and bless. It is evidence of my conviction that God is the source and substance of my supply. I joyously contribute to the vision of this spiritual center, knowing that it returns to me multiplied abundantly. And I always try to remember, I bless this gift in faith, knowing that it returns to me multiplied abundantly. And I feel that I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I'm so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I want to remind you that after service, we are going to have a Zoom. The meeting ID for our Zoom. I did send it out to everybody, but the meeting ID for our Zoom is 863-1048. 2189. I sent out a link to everybody that gets those links, but if you don't get those links, you can copy down this information, 863-1048-2189. The password is July 5 exclamation point, all lowercase, July 5 exclamation point. And all is well. Let's sing this together. And I am grateful. All is well. And now it's time to let it go. All is well. And I am grateful. Life is good. And so it is. Life is good, and so it is. I know that the infinite indwelling Spirit blesses and protects you. I know that Spirit is kind and gracious through you. And I know that Spirit shines its light upon you and is your peace. And so it is. Amen. All is well. And I am grateful. All is well. And now it's time to let it go. All is well. And I am grateful. Life is good. And so it is. Life is good. And so it is. One more time. Life is good, and so it is. So, once again, let me put up those Zoom numbers for you. That's going to be 863-1048-2189 with a password of July 5. And let's go out with God Makes Me Want to Sing. Have a great day, everybody.